Hey everyone, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, who's been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. I love La Marzocco. Their machines are dependable, beautiful, innovative, and after 23 years of working in coffee, I'm still continually impressed by them. I've been using them for a long time. And, they're a household name in coffee for a great reason. You can find La Marzocco espresso machines at the heart of some of the world's best coffee bars because of that reputation they have. Machines like the KB90 espresso machine, which uses straight in locking portafilter technology that helps with ergonomics. You've got the scales built into the drip tray for accuracy of your extraction. You've also got the auto flush feature in the group heads, which allows you to have better cleanliness and faster workflow. So it's just one example of many types of machines that La Marzocco makes to fit your coffee shop perfectly. Reach out to them, info at lamarzocco.usa.com. You can talk to one of the salespeople and they will get you hooked up with one of the best espresso machines you've ever used and the perfect one for you at that. Again, check them out, info at lamarzocco.usa.com, and also visit their website, lamarzocco.usa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly. Espressly creates custom branded mobile apps for independent coffee shops like yours to really offer not just a convenient option for customers, but something that is a part of your culture and your brand, and you're not just a dot on a map. With Espressly, you have your presence in your customer's phone. Again, it's an extension of who you are to them, and they get that convenience of a mobile app at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. It's a no-risk model when you use Espressly. There's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All of the data is stored in the app, and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems, including Square. So a lot to love here. If you've been thinking about getting into mobile apps for your business, you should definitely check them out. To have them get started on your app today, go visit them over at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everybody. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about something that I have seen in coffee shops my whole career. I kind of call it out a little bit and say it's just a natural thing that we do where it's similar to what we've talked about on the show before, where we say, okay, we're going to do sink or swim training. That was a shift break called the insult of sink or swim training. So you should listen to that. But there's this part of us that really values unhealthy methodology, stuff that hurts, just, kind of glorifying chaos and saying, we're scrappy, we're organic, whatever you want to say, you are in a way to sort of excuse yourself from having together something that you could have together, but not having it all together becomes sort of a virtue. Like messiness and chaos and dysfunction become kind of a joke. And we will look around to others around us and we really want them to laugh at it. We want them to be with us in this chaos and say, oh, you know, man, it's a crazy day today. Just really got our butts handed to us. And there's some kind of a part of you that wants others to reflect back to you this acceptance that that is just the way it is, because then we're not going to have to do anything about it. We're not going to have to put an extra person on. We're not going to have to change the way the bar goes, maybe eliminate some kind of ridiculous menu item or whatever comes at the other end of experiencing dysfunction. It's responsibility. Okay. So instead of being culpable and owning up to, hey, we got to do something about this, what we do is we glorify it as an inevitable event that is just part and parcel with the experience of being a team, of being a family. People will use even stronger language like, or like family, to overcome the questions that people have where, when they experience these bumps and they experience what really is sometimes inevitable chaos in the bar. They have questions about that, but instead of being able to ask those questions or come up with suggestions for doing it better, what ends up happening is that that moment gets framed as some kind of a glorious moment, proof of our abilities. And what we do is we start looking for more of those things. We'll throw us, and we'll often, and not even us, we'll throw our staff into situations and say, I know you can handle it. Y'all are so great. High five emoji. And we know we can't. Like, you're giving us a cardboard sword, telling us to go fight a dragon, giving a pat on the back and saying, yeah, if you survive, that's just proof of how great you are. This is that old thing that we talked about where we praise the resourcefulness of our staff often as a way to cover up for our lack of resourcing. Okay, so let's have this conversation. You are an independent coffee shop, and the scrappy, chaotic, organic thing that is somewhat inevitable cannot be the perpetual song you sing about yourself. It's like being a perpetual adolescent. That becomes pretty weird. It becomes pretty weird over time when you see somebody that's, 65 years old and they're still dressing like they're 14. Eh, Not really a good look, not usually, unless that 14-year-old was dressed like a 65-year-old. Well, anyway, the analogy falls apart. You get the point. You get the point where we need to embrace where we are now, obviously, but work to create better processes, better systems, better methods in the future, and be aware that we do have this tendency to glorify needlessly difficult things as a way of sort of testing ourselves, or this misplaced notion that we need to put ourselves in hard circumstances that turn into dysfunctional circumstances in order to feel good, to say we got through it and that was crazy, but we did it. Listen, life provides enough pressure when things are working perfectly that you don't need to invent or accept and do nothing about the needless pressures. But that's what happens in so many shops. Things that could be addressed are not addressed, whether through neglect or just dismissal. Just, hey, that's the way it is. That's the way this place works. It's a little chaotic. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. Well, there's an owner who's given up. There's somebody who's just said, there's nothing I can do. Listen, if you're not curious about ways that you can do things better for the entire time that you are in charge of this thing that is a coffee shop, then you probably shouldn't be running a coffee shop. I guess it's a hot take, but it's like part of your responsibility. Like I've said before, baristas dial in the coffee, you dial in the systems, you dial in this experience, the experience the baristas have. This is why people go to Coffee Fest, or they go to courses online, or they continually are learning more about their craft so they can get better. And if you're not behind the bar anymore, what's your craft? Your craft is this place. The place is your craft. And if you settle with the idea that you're just a victim of inevitability, then what's going to happen is, you're going to see your coffee bar start to sink. The reputation start to get lower. People stop coming. Turnover starts to increase. But because you're in that mindset that it's just this inevitable circumstantial thing, this is always the way it is, and it's just the industry, you've given yourself all this preparation to excuse away culpability. You'll never realize that those symptoms are being caused by that attitude and that mindset. So today, I want to have you take some time after listening to this and really think about how you choose to interpret dysfunction, the craziness and chaos of working on the bar and the bar that is where it is right now, and ask yourself if you have inadvertently done these things. Are there times where you have sort of said, I'd rather interpret this as fate, because if I don't, I'm going to be responsible. Lean into the responsible part, even if it's just a little bit of a positive change in the direction of making it better. Again, coffee bars and, running small businesses, these are already rife with the kind of problems that just are inherent. Let's stop glorifying the chaos, the needless problems and sufferings. Let's get curious about how we can be a part of the solution and how many things we can solve. If there are things that are inevitable, if they are just baked in as problems, at least you'll know that you've spent your best energies, trying to find ways to create better things to handle it rather than just dismissing those things as inevitabilities and then checking out of your responsibility to craft this business and the systems around it that allow people to serve amazing coffee consistently to your community. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope that that lands for some of you. I really think that I've experienced this myself and I've perpetuated this thing myself also. I don't want to see you do it. I just wanted to kind of give you that today, and hopefully that was helpful. So, thank you very much for joining me for this Shift Break episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, and I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.